Hey guys, it's Meredith and welcome back to my channel. So today I am going to be talking about all of the books that I read in the month of May. I read 8 books this month, which is very good for me considering that I was really sick for about a week. I had a sinus infection and bronchitis. So for about a solid week, probably more like a week and a half, I didn't read anything. I was out cold. So I was pretty proud of the 8 books that I read, so I will go ahead and get into those. I usually go in the order that I read the books, but I thought it would be fun to switch it up a little bit and go from my least favorite to my favorite book that I read this month. So starting with my least favorite book, which was Below Zero by Ali Hazelwood. This is the third and final book in her STEMinist novella series. I really enjoyed the first 2 that I read. I gave them both 4 stars. I thought she did a very good job at keeping my attention for such short novellas, and I found the characters really intriguing, and so I had high hopes going into this last one, and unfortunately it just did not hit as hard as the other 2 did. I was just really bored, and the love interest was very dull. Like, he just didn't have any outstanding characteristics to me. I did listen to these on audiobook, and so with the first 2 I didn't have a problem paying attention at all, but for some reason with this one I just kept zoning out. It did not grasp my attention at all. I kept having to go back and see what I missed, and it was just overall a little frustrating that it just, I don't know, I was having such a hard time connecting with the story. This could also be because the books are very similar. They all revolve around women in STEM, and the heroines were very similar and the storylines were kind of similar, and so maybe just feeling like I was reading the same book didn't grasp me as much. I'm not really sure. However, overall I did enjoy the series. I do think that since it was a little similar, the storylines blurred together a bit, and I don't think it's going to be something that sticks with me for a super long time, but for the moment they were really fun, and if they sound interesting to you at all, I would definitely recommend picking them up. I gave that book 2 stars. I don't think I said that, but I gave Below Zero 2 stars and all of the other ones in the series 4 stars. Next up, I read Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. I also ended up giving this 2 stars, which is just heartbreaking. I know. I read Punk 57 last summer, and it ended up being one of my favorite books of the year. I thought it was so fun, and it wasn't like the best writing that I've ever read, but it was just so much fun, and that's exactly what I was expecting when I went into Birthday Girl. It was just an easy, fun read. Unfortunately, this one just fell very flat for me. I found Pike so boring. He didn't have any characteristics that really just stood out to me. He was just like a dad. I don't know, like I was expecting to just, you know, swoon over him and think that he was just this great guy, and I just didn't. I thought he was so boring, and I honestly dreaded his chapters because his thoughts were boring as well. He was just overall very boring. In case you don't know what this book is about, we follow Jordan. She ends up having to find a place to live with her boyfriend. They get kicked out of their apartment, and they end up having to move in with her boyfriend's father. And as the story progresses, Jordan develops feelings for Pike, his father, and his father also develops feelings for Jordan. So it is a pretty taboo romance, but it fell super flat for me. I did not see Jordan's draw to Pike at all. I did like Jordan as a character. I thought she was very hardworking, and she was a very driven character, but other than that, this book was just not for me. I thought it would be fun since Punk 57 was a book that I really enjoyed, but unfortunately birthday girl did not do it for me. Next, I read Meet Me in the Margins by Melissa Ferguson. This book follows Savannah. She is an editor at a pretty prestigious publishing house. She is secretly writing a romance novel and she accidentally leaves it in this little book nook that she usually writes in, and when she goes back to get her manuscript, she notices that someone has written in the margins of her book and written some not so nice critiques about it. Although these critiques were pretty harsh, Savannah knows that she needs all the help she can get, and so she takes these to heart and is basically just listening to the notes that this person gives her, and they kind of turn a little flirty. But throughout the book, Savannah is trying to figure out who is basically leaving her these notes and who is critiquing her work. I picked this up because I was just looking for a super easy to follow read that I could listen to while I was doing end of the year paperwork, and that's exactly what this was. I didn't need to 100% have my attention on it. It was very easy to follow. That being said, it was very predictable. I think anybody could see where it was going, and so the big reveal wasn't very exciting, at least for me. I just found it very average. This book had no spice or anything like that in it, but I still felt the chemistry between the characters. It's not a new favorite or anything like that, but it was fun, it was cute, and exactly what I was looking for, so I gave it 3.5 stars. Next, I read Swear on This Life by Renee Carlino. I had such high expectations for this book. This book gets compared to It Ends With Us All the Time, Colleen Hoover blurbed the front, and so I just was expecting so much from this book. This book follows Emmeline. She one day is encouraged to pick up this book from her roommate, who just says that this book is life-changing and she needs to read it. So when she picks it up, she starts reading it and realizes that it is actually about her and her pretty traumatic childhood. This book follows Emmeline present day, where she is reading the book and she is kind of explaining her thoughts on having a book published all about her life, and we're reading about her friendship turned relationship with Jace, who is the author of the book. I really enjoyed reading the past chapters, so the chapters of the book. They, both Emmeline and Jace, they have different names in the book, they really rely on each other. They both had very hard childhoods in very different ways. It's really heartbreaking reading about these two kids that just really relied on each other because it was kind of all that they had, and I think that the connection between them felt so strong. Like, I was so invested in the story and the relationship and everything that the book had built up. So that is probably about the first half of the book, and I was thinking it would be just a total 5-star for me. Absolutely loved it. And then we focus more on the present day once she is basically done with the book, and I just didn't feel as connected to her as an adult. We also don't get to see Jace much as an adult. Plus, when we do meet him, he's just a complete jerk. I mean, I just really disliked him, and even as it kind of went along, it felt very rushed because we didn't get that much time with them as adults, and I still just didn't like him. So it was much harder to root for the relationship when they were adults, where when they were younger, I was really rooting for them to be together, and just things kept getting in their way and I was getting frustrated for them. And yeah, the ending really fell flat for me. So I rated it a 3.5 star. I still really enjoyed it, and the first half, I mean, I did tab it. The first half was a solid 5-star for me. It's just the ending really let me down. So next, I read Along for the Ride by Sarah Dessen. This was actually the first book that I read in May. This one was a reread for me. I used to just adore Sarah Dessen in middle school and high school, as I'm sure most girls did. Her books were just so summery and feel good, and I just really adored them. I was looking for, you know, a nostalgic read, a feel-good read, and Along for the Ride just came out on Netflix, so I thought that it would be perfect to read that and then watch the movie, which I still haven't done, but I'll get to it. I was so pleasantly surprised with this reread. I was kind of expecting the book to be cheesy and that it just wouldn't live up to the high expectation that I had for it, because like I said, Sarah Dessen was my favorite author, and so I remember just loving every single one of her books. And on this reread, I ended up giving it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I loved the summer vibes. I loved the romance. I thought it was just so sweet, and I really liked our female main character as well. I thought that she felt very real. Unfortunately, I didn't have Goodreads back when I read it the first time, so I can't really compare my thoughts on it or compare my rating, but I'm sure it was 5 stars for me back in the day. I definitely want to go back and reread some other Sarah Dessen books and some other favorites of mine from when I was younger and just kind of see how they compare to now. I think that could be really interesting. So I am excited to read more childhood favorites, I guess. This was such a good start to doing that. So if you are looking for a sign to reread Sarah Dessen or even start as an adult, I really enjoyed my reread, so would recommend. Another 4-star book for me in the month of May was Hook, Line, and Sinker by Tessa Bailey. I am so excited that I enjoyed this book because I can officially say that I enjoyed a Tessa Bailey book, which makes me happier than you know. Tessa Bailey is an author that is just so loved, and her books have just not hit for me yet. I have given her previous 2 books 2 stars, I think. They haven't hit home for me, and I have wanted them to so badly, and finally, Hook, Line, and Sinker was the one that did it. I read It Happened One Summer last year, and I just really didn't like it. I did not like Brendan. I did not like Piper, and I just wanted to love them so much. I wanted to love the book. I wanted to understand the hype, but I did like Hannah, and I was intrigued with Fox, and so when I heard that this book was about them, I had pretty high hopes, but was also trying to keep my expectations a little lower so I wouldn't be so disappointed. But I really liked this one. I really liked Hannah. I liked how ambitious she was towards her job, and she was just a very down-to-earth real character. I really enjoyed her, and I thought that Fox was very funny. That was something that I found was lacking in the other love interests of Tessa Bailey's books, is they just feel so brooding and grumpy, but not in like a good way. Like, I don't know, they have just not hit for me. Fox I loved though. I loved his humor. I just loved him. Also, I felt like their relationship was much more developed in this one. I really could see them develop as friends, and then how that friendship kind of turned into more with them. It definitely didn't feel rushed. It didn't feel insta-lovey. It felt perfectly paced. It unfortunately still didn't have like a 5-star feel to me, but 4 stars is definitely still a very enjoyed book, and so I'm just so excited. So I am excited to read more Tessa Bailey, and I have high hopes that I will like them. Now for my 2 5-star reads in May. First up, The Queen, Colleen Hoover with Maybe Someday. This book follows Sydney. She is just really down on her luck. On page 1, we find out that her boyfriend and her best friend were cheating together, so she has nowhere to live. Her neighbor Ridge, who she basically met on the balcony, he takes her in, so she has a place to stay. Ridge is a songwriter, and he has really bad writer's block, and he finds out that Sydney writes songs, and so they kind of team up together and start writing songs for Ridge's brother's band. As the two are writing songs together, some feelings start developing, but they cannot act on them because Ridge has a girlfriend, and he has made it clear that he will not leave her for a reason that we find out later. I went in thinking that this book was just going to be a cutesy little romance, about two people writing songs together, and I should have known that Colleen Hoover would not just write a cutesy romance. She would feel the need to destroy my heart, and that's exactly what she did. Once I saw the relationship between Sydney and Ridge start developing, even though he had a girlfriend, I was getting very nervous because I hate cheating tropes, and it just annoys me. Like, I just break up. Like, if you are having feelings for someone else, you need to break up with them. And I just, in Colleen Hoover fashion, she had me so conflicted on what these characters should do and how things should be gone about. And like, Colleen, I ended up looking up reviews after reading this book because I really enjoyed it, and I found myself still rooting for all of the characters. There wasn't a character in this book that I really disliked. And after reading the reviews, I realized that that's kind of an unpopular opinion. People don't really like Ridge for the reasons that I said, that he should have broken up with his girlfriend when any feelings for Sydney started developing. But I just thought Colleen Hoover did such a great job explaining the situation, and I just didn't think Ridge was a bad guy. I don't think he handled everything maybe in the best way, but I think we just really saw how conflicted he was with everything, and just I don't know, I think that everybody in this book just went through a lot, and it's sad, it's heart-wrenching, but I really enjoyed it. I don't think this will be my go-to Colleen Hoover recommendation, just because Ridge is a character that I could see people maybe not liking so much, but Colleen Hoover's writing just has me justifying poor decisions. This book actually has a soundtrack to go along with it, which was the coolest thing, and I think that that really sealed the deal for this being a 5-star read for me, because as they're writing the lyrics in the book, like, we get to see the lyrics that they write, and then you can go online and listen to the actual song, so you can imagine them writing the songs even better. Like, I can never pick like a tune in my head, and so I end up just like going through the lyrics and it doesn't hit as hard, but when you hear it with the music, it just sounds so beautiful. And I had such a vivid picture of them writing these songs, and everything was just perfect. It kind of gave me Daisy Jones and the Six vibes, but current day. So if you've read Daisy Jones and you liked the songwriting aspect and everything like that, I would definitely recommend this one, because I loved it. And finally, my #1 favorite book in the month of May was A Court of Mist and Fury. I finally read Akamath. Guys, this book was so good. Like, I don't even know what to say about this book other than the fact that it completely exceeded my super high expectations. It is so worth the hype. Like, I don't know if I've ever read a book where my expectations were just through the roof and it just exceeded them. This book is like 600 pages, and I just didn't want it to be over. I loved the story. I loved the characters, the romance, the humor, the action, just everything. I am a basic girly now, and I am completely in love with Rhysand. I loved his sarcasm and his banter with Feyre. It was just so perfect. Like, this book had my heart swooning. It had my heart racing. It was just all of the emotions I could feel, I felt in this book. I do have a reading vlog coming out reading this. I wanted to put it out sooner, but then, you know, I got the bronchitis.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
But it should be out soon. So if you would like to see my real-time reactions to Akamath, it'll be out soon. But I am so excited to continue on with the series. I just really love it so far, and even though I still have 2 books and a novella still that I get to read for the first time, I just don't want it to be over, because I loved it so much. If you have been putting off the ACOTAR series much like I did, and you are just wondering, well, is it so overhyped now? Should I start it? Yes, you should. No, it is not overhyped. It completely deserves all of the hype it's getting, and I'm still just speechless. I don't know what to say about this book. I loved it. absolutely loved it, so pick it up. Those are all of the books that I read in the month of May. If you stuck it out to the end, leave me a flower emoji because April showers do bring me flowers. That was so stupid. Anyway, leave me a flower emoji and let me know what your favorite book that you read this month was. Also, make sure you subscribe to my channel if you would like to see more bookish content from me, and like this video if you did. So I will see you in my next video. Bye guys!